2015, 2016, you decide to file this lawsuit, and you use the Civil Rights Act of 1866.
Yes.
Against Comcast and Charter. Give me the history behind why them, there, then, now, why.
Sure.
Yeah.
Listen, I supported Senator Barack Obama when he had very cheap suits.
Let's not be shady, Byron Allen. Don't be mad because you didn't get an invite to the White House.
No, I'm joking. I mean, I loved him. So I really, supported him as an unknown senator. And when he became president, I was obviously extremely proud. And his administration came to me and said, hey, these corporations are trying to get bigger, and they want to be much bigger. And we want to know, Comcast is trying to buy this, and Charter, these folks are trying to buy whatever. We want to know, are they good corporate citizens? And once again, do you want the real answer or the Hollywood answer? I said, we want the real answer. I said, the answer is not no, it's hell no. They're not good corporate citizens. And they say, why do you say that? I say, well, as an industry, they spend $70 billion a year licensing cable networks. So when you pay your cable bill, $1 goes to Lifetime, $8 goes to ESPN, another $1 goes to this cable network, whatever it might be, right? A&E. So I said, out of $70 billion in payout, black folks, we get zero, practically literally nothing. And I said, we don't have economic inclusion. You have Spanish language networks where the people who own them can't even speak Spanish. So they don't own their networks. Oh. And so, I said that, you don't have people from the gay community owning their networks or Asian people owning their networks. And if we don't own our networks, then we don't really have a seat at the table. And our voices aren't heard. Our voices aren't widely distributed. And so, therefore, we're not really a part of the democracy. And we're not getting any economic inclusion. And that's what the numbers say. Out of $70 billion, Negroes get zero. So that's why I say that. And they say, well, we've heard that before. But everybody's afraid to speak out. Everybody's afraid of repercussions. I said, well, I'm not afraid to speak out. I'm a comedian. That's what we do. We speak out. We tell the truth. What you do with the truth, that's on you. But at least you can say, I told you the truth. Right. So I will speak out, but I'm not going to use the FCC. Because I think the FCC is nothing but a bunch of mall cops. They're not going to do anything. So I said, I'm going to file a federal lawsuit. And that way you have to really deal with me. And this is how I decided to deal with the 4Ds. If I file a federal lawsuit, you can't dismiss me, right? So if with a federal lawsuit, you can't discredit me. I'm using your process. You can't demonize me. I'm peaceful. I'm just saying we have a dispute. We can't resolve it. Let's go to a judge and a jury. It's just a dispute. And you can't destroy me. Because even if you actually destroy me, the case will live forever. So that was the way I decided to decode that matrix of the 4Ds. I'm going to use your system, and I'm going to go through your process so you can't dismiss me, discredit me, demonize me, and destroy me.
Were you using the FCC process at the same time?
No, I wouldn't even talk to the FCC.
Right. So
I would not.
Purely legal strategy.
I said, I'm not even going to talk to you guys. Goodbye. Stage left. See you later. Okay? We're going to go to the federal court. So we go downtown. Comcast, $20 billion. Charter, $10 billion. And we had a judge, African-American judge. For whatever reason, he never met with us. He never met with the plaintiff, the defendant, never talked to us. I'm like, hey, man, this is a complicated.
No meeting in chambers, no discussion
Zero.
among the parties?
Never put my eyes. Nothing. He never met with any of us. And he wrote a two-paragraph dismissal twice. He dismissed it. I'm like, brother, this is a complicated case. I created it, and I don't understand it sometimes.
It's going to need more than your 2 paragraphs.
It's going to need, right? So that was Charter. So it got dismissed. I'm like, okay, brother, I got you, right? So then we had Judge Wu, Asian American judge, and he met with us a number of times. And he was clear, focused. Comcast and Charter, the number 1, number 2 cable provider in America, was downtown first using as their defense, and you're an attorney, right? Using, and I love this, and thank you for being here. I love sitting with you. So used as their defense, get your mind ready for this one, the Hurley case. So we're sitting there going, you guys are using the Hurley case? Because everything in law is precedent, right? We're going to use the Hurley case? So these clowns are sitting there going, yeah, the Hurley case. So I go, what the hell is the Hurley case? So the Hurley case was, there were some parade organizers in Boston. This went all the way to the Supreme Court. There were some parade organizers in Boston who said, hey, gay people, you can't be in our parade, right? A group of gay people tried to be in a parade in Boston. Parade organizers said, gay people cannot be in our parade. So, rightfully so, the gay community sued them. This thing goes all the way to the Supreme Court, right? And unfortunately, there was a miscarriage of justice. And they ruled in favor of the parade organizers. And the parade organizers used the First Amendment. And they said, having gay people in our parade infringes on our First Amendment rights, and it changes our freedom of expression. And the Supreme Court ruled in their favor and allowed them to discriminate against gay people, which kind of gave the basis for I don't have to make a cake for you.
Right.
So this is where we see our 14th Amendment right to due process, to equal treatment under the law, being subjected to the white right, and I'm saying white because there's a racialized distribution of rights as we think about it, to freedom of expression.
Yes.
And if my expression is in opposition to your humanity, my First Amendment right to express that trumps your 14th Amendment right to equal.
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
So then they go and they try, and I said, I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. Am I watching the number one and number two cable operator in America who's supposed to be providing broadband and services to America, sitting here using the First Amendment to discriminate? And then I heard the greatest words ever. Judge Wu said, are you standing here trying to use the First Amendment to say that that's a pathway to discriminate against people? Because they were basically saying, you know what you did to gay people? Supersize that and use that on black people and all minorities. And so the Judge Wu was like, no, get out of here with that. So then when they didn't get anywhere with that, after doing that, I couldn't even believe that. I said, guys, you shouldn't be using that law. You shouldn't be celebrating.
It's bad law.
It's bad law. You shouldn't be.
It's a bad ruling.
It's a bad ruling, Comcast and Charter, Brian Roberts and David Cohen. You shouldn't be using that law. You should be denouncing that decision. So shame on you as we pay you billions of dollars and you are celebrating something and trying to supersize it.
So back up. Why wouldn't they want to license your company's channels?
Well, okay, so that's a whole economic thing, but I want to go.
But you're using the Civil Rights
Act of 1866,
saying it's a racial issue, not a money issue.
That's what I said. So I said, look, on the Civil Rights Act of 1866. So here's what we said here. This law was put on the books in the year of 1866. The slaves were freed in December of 1865. So instead of what some historians believe, instead of us getting reciprocity, 40 acres and a mule, we got this law. And this law said that you will have a fair pathway in contracting. And it was especially for all minorities. And at that point, it was mainly the newly freed slaves. So you will have a pathway in economic inclusion in contracting, commercial contracting, and government contracting.
And that was important because at that time you had formerly enslaved people who, if you can read and if you can understand the legalese, which was illegal
before that.
If you can read, if you can contract effectively, which means you understand the powers of negotiation, there is an equality in the parties who are contracting. Because if I'm a former slave and you are a former slave owner, there's an imbalance in power there. So my ability to say, hey, I need to now get a job that pays me because I am formerly enslaved, I am now free, I now need work, I need to enter into a contract. What was happening was black people were being ultimately manipulated by the former owners who owned the land, who owned their ability to have access to the land, because black people didn't get reparations, former slave owners did. And so if you're controlling who has access to the land in an agrarian society where our wealth and our ability to sustain ourselves is tied to our ability to have connection to the land, I don't own land, I need to go and contract with this person who does, who just so happens to be completely inclined to oppress me the way they did 3 days ago when I was still enslaved.
There it is.
So if you don't have these federal laws in place that are going to protect black people during this time, that's how you get sharecropping. That's how you get convict leasing. That's how you get all of these entrees into what we now know as the prison industrial complex, because white people were committed to holding on to the slave-master relationship, even if it needed a different name and a different structure.
There it is. You nailed it. And that law, that's our reciprocity.
Right.
That law, that's the pathway. That instead of the 40 acres and a mule, Karen, you got this law. Now go get it. Right?
With these judges who see you as not having any rights that the white man is bound to respect.
And there it is. And now you have, so with what Comcast did, what they said is, check it out. In order see, this is what they did. They took us to we lost twice on Comcast, but we won on Charter.
That was the ninth U.S.
No, that was downtown. So Charter was upset that we won. So they said, we're going to file interlocutory appeal, which is basically we're going to appeal this right now. And Judge Wu said, hey, why not? Eventually, this is going to go to the Supreme Court. And I said, are you kidding me? He goes, yeah. He says, well, Byron Allen's not going to stand down, and Comcast and Charter is not going to stand down. I have two well-funded, I have three well-funded entities are not going to let up, and they're going to fight to the bitter end, and we're going to end up in the Supreme Court. And he said that. So he said, go ahead and go to the Ninth Circuit. So I said, well, if Charter's going to take me to the Ninth Circuit,
right.
I'm going to take Comcast to the Ninth Circuit, and we're going to get on the happy bus, and we all going to go down to the Ninth Circuit, and we're going to get this done. So we go to the Ninth Circuit, and I hired an amazing lawyer, and he goes in there, and he whips it out, and we made history. The Ninth Circuit ruled in our favor twice. They upheld the Charter decision and reversed the Comcast decision. And they said, no, you cannot use the First Amendment as a pathway to discriminate. And no, we don't think you should use a higher standard for the Civil Rights Act of 1866. So here's what Charter and Comcast said. In order for Karen to use this law, she must prove that the 100% sole reason we discriminated against Karen is that she's black. That's the but-for stand.
But-for causation.
But-for causation.
Ooh.
So you know what that's about.
Yeah.
So you need to prove. So it could be, I could say to your face, you know what, Karen, 99% of the reason I'm discriminating against you is because you're black, but 1% because you have on tennis shoes. And with that, you can't even use the law to bring forth a lawsuit. So the Ninth Circuit said, okay, who's your crack dealer? That's ridiculous. Okay, that's ridiculous. Okay, it's not the but-for causation. It's the motivating factor. If any reason, if it's 5%, 10%, 20% of the reason you discriminated against Karen because she's black, she can use the law and bring it forward. Okay, so that's what the Ninth Circuit said. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court said, let's look at this. Maybe we will go with the but-for 100%. That way minorities can't use it.
And that's minorities writ large,
and that,
not just black people.
It's all minorities in America, right? Oh, because the way it's written, this law is for all non-white people, excluding Native Americans who have their own separate deal. So it's all minorities, right? So here's what Comcast did. Comcast went to Donald Trump's Department of Justice and said, give us an amicus brief. And they gave them one. And I went, are you kidding me? Donald Trump's Department of Justice?
Where the Civil Rights Division sits.
Where the Civil Rights, amen. Where the Civil Rights Division sits. They write an amicus brief, a report, basically. It's a friend of the court saying, I agree with Charter. Roll those Negroes back to 1865. Get those Negroes back onto the plantation, right? Boom. So that's the amicus brief. I go, are you kidding me? I spent 2 weeks on the phone. I lost my voice. I'm calling every reporter. Then these guys go back and they not only say, thanks for the amicus brief, they did something we've never seen before, ever. They said, you know what? We have 30 minutes, Comcast says, we have 30 minutes in front of the 9 justices in the Supreme Court, 30 minutes. And Byron has 30 minutes in front of the 9 justices, right? But hey, Donald Trump, DOJ, we want to give you 10 of our 30 minutes.
That is unprecedented. You do not share your time to argue your case.
Donald Trump, bring your DOJ into the United States Supreme Court, stand by Comcast's side, and argue against the civil rights for every American in America.
So let's back up for a second.
I mean, get your
which they said, oh, okay, sure.
and so now we're standing in the Supreme Court next week and standing there against Comcast and Donald Trump's DOJ and Donald Trump's Supreme Court, Donald Trump era. And what they're doing is they just want to roll us back. So who did they get an amicus brief from? They got an amicus brief from Donald Trump. And they got one from the Chamber of Commerce. Why the Chamber of Commerce? So now what happens is Karen says, I got fired. And I got fired because I'm black. Well, now you can't get a lawyer on contingency because the lawyer is going to say, Karen,
That's right.
I can't take your case on contingency because it's too hard to prove that you got fired 100%
because
you're black. And because of that, I can't hold them accountable. So
Which means I'm not going to get paid at the end of this case.
You're not going to get paid at the end of this case. So now they're able to discriminate against you. You don't have a pathway to hold them accountable.
Right.
And I say
No,
three
this is a
words.
super important
Welcome to
lawsuit.
hell.
Yeah.
Welcome to hell. So that's
before the lawsuit, though.
Yeah.
Comcast went to NAACP, National Action Network, what was it? Urban League.
Urban League,
Urban League, right? And
I named them in the lawsuit.
I know.
Yeah.
And you named them individually.
Yeah.
And
As defendants,
Right.
yes?
Yes, defendants.
Yeah.
I said you guys are giving them racial cover. And you saying these are good white folks when they're not doing good white folks business with us. And that doesn't work. Let me tell you when they're good white folks, when they're doing good business with us. So what you didn't do is you didn't tell the people, because I said to him, why are you doing a memorandum of understanding on behalf of black people? You didn't tell black people you got $1 million donation and then negotiate it with them.
Did they?
Oh, they check. It's public.
Okay.
Go see
All
how
right.
much
So,
money.
but let me ask you a question. Did you ask Comcast and Charter to do business?
Absolutely.
And they said no.
They said no. As a matter of fact, we recently asked Charter to sit down with us to resolve this case, and Charter told their government relations person told my government relations person, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Wow. Okay.
Charter.
So they rather go to the Supreme Court.
You know what? This is something.
I think there's something more here.
Yes.
There's more here.
And you want to
Byron
know what's here? This is white supremacy at its worst. Institutionalized racism. Don't you tell me what to do. Don't you tell me how to do. How dare you?
Come with your
uppity.
How dare you have so much money?
I'm going to control your behavior.
Right.
And I said, look, guys, I burned my knee pads long ago.
Oh,
this right?
You used to have them?
I said, look, guys, this. You know what? You're not going to like this. Bottom line, this is not an ask. This is a take. This is a take. This is not an ask because I've been asking and I've been working and I've been polite, and you have conveniently tried to dismiss me and discredit me and demonize me, and you've been trying to destroy me. So I had to crack the code, and I said, here we are now in the Supreme Court. But the point I really want to make is that they're wrong. See, what they want to do is they want to be able to manipulate you. They want to be able to crush you. There's no scenario in which they should be challenging your civil rights. Comcast even made a racist offer. Their racist offer was, Byron, you drop the lawsuit and we might sit with you.
Oh, this is like your $400,000 deal that was on the table.
Right.
If you sold $400,000, if you sold, okay, been there, done that.
Been there, done that. And I said, you know what? That's a racist offer. What you're saying to me is, I think you're a monkey. You're nothing more than a monkey. Now come get this banana. And you know why it's racist? Because the way you settle lawsuits with white people, you sit in a room, you work it out, you settle it,
on the table,
and you put everything down, everybody signs it, and then everybody withdraws their lawsuits.
Right.
But that's not how you're treating me as a black person, because you look at me as a monkey and you say, come get this banana, you little monkey. That's a racist offer. It's so institutionalized in you, you don't even understand how racist you are. Look at how you approach us in resolving lawsuits when you resolve thousands of lawsuits without doing that.